Who knows? We were warned by the Terminator. I'm nice to Alexa.
If anybody had told me 15 years ago I'd work for a software company, I literally would have laughed in their face.
There's big changes coming. It's going to change the world in big ways. There's a lot of anxiety around, what's going to be good about that, what's going to be bad about that.
People aren't going to be put out of jobs from AI. They're going to be put out of jobs from people who understand AI.
Instead of somebody check on the state broadband directors, make sure they're all right. We're here for you. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be
on this unplugged edition of our podcast, Bandwidth.
We have a lot of wires for being unplugged.
Yeah.
Right, a lot of
There
wires.
are a lot of wires, yeah.
And the microphones that are the murder weapons.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. These things are heavy, yeah. Yeah.
You will speak to us.
I love this. Usually I have to ask all the questions, and now I get to just sit back, right?
Now you have to answer all the
I
questions.
was going to say, isn't that the hard part?
Yeah, that is the hard part.
And I want to start with the first question. Tell us more about Connected Nation.
Okay. Connected Nation is a national nonprofit that was founded in Bowling Green, Kentucky about 24 years ago. We celebrate our 25th anniversary next year, and it is focused on helping expand what we call the access, adoption, and use of broadband, i.e. high-speed internet, to all people.
Okay.
Our tagline is Connected Nation. Everyone belongs in a connected nation. So all people, no matter where they come from, no matter how much they make, no matter where they live, if it's rural areas. And why we call it access, adoption, and use is access is, do you have access to the infrastructure near you to be able to get it? Adoption is it affordable? Can you even get it? Or do you have any interest in adopting it or understanding why it's important? And use is that digital literacy piece. Whereas, do you understand how to use a computer? The dangers of the internet? What do you need to be careful for? What should you do right or wrong? Or how it can help you with telehealth and those kinds of things. Whereas, like one of us might be like, how could somebody not use the internet? But a lot of people do not know how to use the internet.
Sure.
So that's a big portion.
And it's not intuitive.
No, it's not necessarily intuitive at all. No.
Nor is it a singular thing. Like,
no.
Talk about like the internet. It's not like how do you use like a phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
Unscam
everything
it.
from, it's also, when you talk about use, it's not just, like you said, the phone. Like a lot of people have cell phones, but imagine being a kid who doesn't have a computer at home and is trying to write a report on a cell phone.
Yeah.
So there's that whole piece of it. So we deal with everything to do with the digital divide. And we work on all levels. So federal, state, and local. We do everything from technology planning to digital literacy training. In other words, anything that affects that is integral into the internet, the need for access. For us, it's all about humans, reaching people, helping the kid, helping the older adult, doing that type of stuff. So we have an altruistic goal. We're usually funded by government entities or foundations, that type of thing. It's not really like a fundraiser like with puppy and dog, save the puppies and the kittens or the help the little kiddos that are hungry. It's more of we deal with entities like that. That's where we get our funding. And so, yeah, but we've been around 25 years next year. So
that's fantastic.
That's the overview of us. So if you have anything else you want to deep dive in, I'm down.
Well, congrats on the 25 years. That's an
Thank
achievement.
you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it wasn't just me though, but I'll let them know. Yeah.
How long have you been with them?
I have been with Connect Nation about 8 years.
So you know where the bodies are buried already.
Yeah, I already know. So they're going to keep me on for at least a little bit longer. I was a journalist before this, so I did broadcast news, and now I run a comms team. There's myself and 2 other full-timers and a part-timer, and then we have some contractors that do some work with us designing, but we do comms and PR for the entire country. We don't really have like traditional marketing dollars, so we do everything that's through earned media, like things like this where we get a placement and different things to talk about what we do, and I think we do a pretty good job at it. So as you saw, we have the podcast roaming around that I do with and talk to other people, and I'm kind of jealous of your set. I want this with these nice little microphones.
What's your favorite thing about doing a podcast?
My favorite thing about doing the podcast is meeting different people, learning why they got into industry. Telecommunications, I'm kind of an expert on the topic now because I've been doing the comms PR piece for 8 years,
Sure.
but I am not the tech person, and it's really interesting to talk to people and find out how they were led to this space, to learn why they do it and what excites them about it. And so I've gotten to talk to everybody from Governor Jeb Bush to the FCC chairman to a second grade school teacher about getting tips, especially during the pandemic, for parents on how to improve their how do I help my kid with their homework? I don't know what I'm doing. And so I really like my point is my favorite thing is I love the wide variety of people I get to talk to. That still is something I just love, and I love hearing people's stories and their point of views in the world. So really with our podcast, yours I haven't got to listen to it yet, but I will. I know you've dropped 2 episodes. Ours is very friendly, and it's very much about the point of view of the person we're talking to, not connected nations necessarily. So that's interesting because you find there are differences between people, but you also find there's a lot of similarities, which is in this space is kind of hard to believe.
and people came to this industry with so many different stories, their origin stories. If anybody had told me 15 years ago I'd work for a software company, I literally would have laughed in their face. Mm-hmm. That was not the trajectory I ever saw my life going in. But I wake up in the morning, I think every day, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be at exactly this point in time. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And I love to hear how other people came to the space. Rick came from the operator space and then came into the software side of things. And he thinks about things differently because he was boots on the ground. He was someone who was using the software previously to joining the industry. And I think it just gives us a different perspective.
It does.
I don't think I've ever spoken to an operator that, as a child, I wanted to get into broadband. Like it's not that kind of thing. Or
no,
it's,
it's not.
Like an engineer or a lawyer or whatever. I think that's what makes the origin stories so interesting is because there's always that, like, how did the undertow kind of get you and suck you into this industry? And I think people's eyes are opened, and it is one of those things where I feel it's a rare opportunity to really make a difference in a purposeful brick by brick sort of way. And that holds people in. Maybe they didn't plan on, doing this with their lives, but once they are understanding of the potential to help, they stick around.
100%. I talked to Drew Pappas, hopefully I got his last name right. It's Pappas. I know how to spell it. From Bonfire earlier. And as we were talking, I asked him the same question, I like to know how people got into this and why does it matter to you? And as he was talking to me, you could see this little light bulb go on over his head. He's like, actually, it's in my family. My mom was at the Bell companies, the telecommunications. My dad, or my grandma was, my grandpa was, my brother is. Now that I'm thinking about it, he's like, I feel like it's a family thing. And I never even thought about that. So
that's amazing.
It's just interesting also to see as we talk the things that they reveal to themselves. It's fun.
Sure.
Well, we were talking at the dinner table the other day, and I remember that my great grandmother still had a party line. I remember in my lifetime a party line that there were multiple people on that line, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking about, okay, all these years later, here we are with cell phones in our pockets that could run a spaceship if we wanted to. What will happen in my children's lifetime? And we can't even imagine what it's going to look like 15 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now.
Agreed. Yeah. We don't even know the jobs that are going to be around from now. I mean, people talk about AI. People are going to be put out of jobs from AI. They're going to be put out of jobs from people who understand AI. Mm-hmm. So that's for us right now is the new digital divide that we're really focusing on is the idea that, okay, yeah, we've got to get these people online, but also there's this whole idea of the ever-changing technology. How do we keep people up to pace with that?
Because it's actually to me, it's almost a fork in the road.
Yeah,
it's not just getting them online; it's getting them online and using the tools. Because I see AI as a tool, 100%. And people need to understand they're the ringleader. They're the ones that are mastering the 3-ring circus in front of them. But how do you get them to that competency level where they actually feel like they can command the stage that AI is?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. How do you put it to work? How do you even think about it? I think that's the challenge. People hear They don't understand how it works. You don't have to understand how it works necessarily, but I feel for my AI journey, that helped to kind of click, and okay, that it's predictive, and it's as good as its data sets, and you understand it a little bit, and then then that's the fun part. You try one thing and you see, okay, it's really good at this, and we were talking about this earlier. I don't
Wasn't
know.
that your second podcast? Was that
The
AI?
Yep.
See, I pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one because it was very speculatory. But I think that's where we're at in the AI journey. I think we know, even those of us that have gotten our hands in the clay and have become really quickly dependent on it. I know I am. I think confidently we can say we don't know where it's going to take us. We know it's going to take us somewhere. There's big changes coming. It's going to change the world in big ways. There's a lot of anxiety around, what's going to be good about that, what's going to be bad about that. But I think materially, we have no idea what that's going to look like. What are the jobs going to be? What's the next generation going to grow up? What's that world going to look like? But we know it's coming. And I think that is such an interesting intersection to be at. So I think about when, the internet was first starting to bubble up to the surface. It's not that there wasn't media coverage on it. I don't think the general populace knew what to do with the information. I think it was very much thought of as this like niche nerd thing, and they didn't realize that it was going to be ubiquitous and it was going to change the fabric of society. I think for a generation that's lived through that and saw that, and kind of, whether you consciously or subconsciously realized that people didn't see it coming, now we have this context about how to think about AI. And I think that drives into some of the speculation and the anxiety, because it's like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know it's going to be big. I don't want to be left behind. And I think that is a really interesting intersection to be at. Obviously, we're now just starting to see it be commercialized, which is always a really fun part of technology, when, they start turning on the money machine and the products start changing. I think about search. Search used to be this pure thing. It was about just getting to the data, and then it just turned into an ad revenue generator. I'm sure that our traditional LLMs that we all use and love are going to be experiencing that in a big way. So yeah, there's a lot we don't know, but I think we know that something big is coming.
Oh yeah. And for me and my team, we started to work on using AI last year. And but for me, because with my background in journalism and now doing comms, PR, marketing kind of thing, I felt it was very important that we talk about the ethics side of AI, especially like when you tell someone's story, that you for me, on the ethics side, you have a social contract with that person. If I sat down with you and we had a long conversation about who you are and what you do and why, I've made a contract with you that I'm going to tell that story. I'm not going to feed it into something. Now, there are ways for us, the ideas that we have, or at least what I'm doing with my team, is if you need help with a lead sentence, you're just struggling with, it's not, maybe use it for some creative ideas, or a headline, or emojis for the social media piece, or, hey, this is what I have. Can you give me a version of that maybe is different that you could pull from?
Yep.
So we're already using it. I think a lot of as you said, a lot of companies are. I'm sure you all are, and what you're working with Connected Nation is. We're already looking at how we can help our clients, our partners, understand how it can be utilized. It's going to be such a powerful thing. But the reason I bring that up is we also have to think of it as people, and where does the ethical side belong, and where should we look at it, and the idea that, okay, so maybe you have this this round thing with, where AI gives you all this great stuff, but it's only as good right now in what you put in it.
Right.
So
how you've trained it.
Right. So it can get stuff wrong. So you need to have that human element. And I think there's probably going to be always some sort of human element. Yes, there'll be some autonomous things that it could do, like cars and stuff like that. But there's always going to be, people are going to be able to know. I think if you're as savvy at all or pay attention, there's a human element that's going to be difficult for a very long time. Now, who knows? We were warned by the Terminator
I still say
That-
please and
I-
thank you. I'm sorry. I wanted to be aware of.
Oh yeah, I'm nice.
Georgette was
I'm
nice.
nice to Alexa.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I just think that when we have these discussions, it's important to also include the discussion of ethics. What is ethical use? What is, while you're talking about how do we implement it? How do we do it? How do you, like, even like, from my point of view, like if you guys did an image for your podcast, should you label that image an AI image?
Right.
And, I mean,
Yeah, how do you
how's
reference it?
label it?
And
Yeah.
and the laws tied to AI on where do you disclose that this
Right.
I was preparing a deck for a seminar this last weekend, and I had ChatGPT assist me, and I made sure to reference it on the last slide,
Mhm.
letting the people know that was where I generated some of the content.
Mm-hmm.
Is that legislative, or is that just the ethics of it?
Right. No, it's very
you
good
want to
question.
make sure that whenever you're doing that,
Mhm.
or you've taken a photograph and you've enhanced that photograph with AI. How do people know that it's AI generated unless I'm being ethical and saying, hey, by the way, I ran this through?
Yeah, and you win some award for it or
Mhm.
something.
Huh.
Like, that was AI.
Yeah.
There's so many questions around that. I just think when people use it and utilize it or present it, it's very important to think in a certain way, to take a moment, take a breath, and really think, okay, how is this fine the way I'm using it? Or are there some issues with the way I'm using it? You know what I mean?
So what are some of the biggest challenges you see for use of the internet is what one of the pillars of your organization in the inner cities and in the rural areas of America? What are the biggest challenges you guys are facing?
Well, one
Or
of
you're
them,
seeing out in the
yeah, one of
communities?
them is, you mean once they have the internet,
Was
they're
it got
able
that-
to afford it,
Mhm.
but getting into it.
Getting into it.
So we have several digital literacy programs. One's called Teens Teach Tech, powered by AT&T. And we also have a digital literacy learning program that's taught by our facilitators. The Teens Teach Tech program is taught by teens, and it's very intergenerational. So they generally will teach older adults and or their teachers. They'll train them and stuff using skills that they've grown up with.
Mhm.
So one of the challenges you see with the older generation, I think, is, fear of losing their privacy, which there's some validity.
I was just gonna say,
If it's free, you're the algorithm,
Right.
right?
yeah, you are the product. Yeah.
And fear that people are going to think, even that maybe they're dumb, they should know this already. They don't want to ask for the help, So when you have those two things are kind of scary, or even, why does it matter that I have it? You know what I mean? And then we also with some immigrant populations, there's some language barriers.
Mhm.
So we teach in bilingual Spanish and English. We
Okay.
have a bilingual facilitator. So there's language barriers. There are organizations that we work with that actually work with Somali immigrants and other kinds of immigrants to help other types of people from other places. Help them with the language barrier. So language barriers are an issue. Imagine if you came to a country. I know that people have different opinions about immigrants. That's fine. But imagine you're here. You want to be in America. You've gone through so much to be here, and you don't know how to access anything. You don't know how to get
Anything.
your ID.
You can't get the bus schedules because
Right.
the bus schedules are online.
Everything's online, so you cannot. So you really do need to have that access. So that's a barrier to it. And then with the really cool thing with that one with the teens and the intergenerational is really seeing how the older adults also have something to teach the kids, and they feel like I'm gonna get a little teary. They feel like for the first time, oh yeah, I'm still matter to the generations below me, the other ones across the way. And I say this, we recently gave the first Broadband Hero Award to a teen who was in the Teens Teach Tech program in Alabama, Michael Schmaltz. And he, with the Teens Teach Tech program, the more that the kids train, they earn money. And they can use that money for their organization or for something they want to do. It's fine. They can use it however they'd like. And he used it to start another nonprofit to then start a computer lab at a homeless center, and then went and taught.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then went and taught at more older adults. He taught his classmates below him, like he's a senior. So taught juniors and sophomores how to do the digital skills training class, so they could still have it at the local senior center. And those seniors with him, they were like, he's like, one of them was like, this brain in my pocket, I had no idea how to use it. Now I can look up stuff all the time and show my other friends how to look up stuff, how to take pictures. And so just to see these older generations interacting with teens that, there sometimes can be unwarranted animosity or misunderstandings between people,
Mhm.
Sure.
generations.
Or not a lot of opportunity for them to intersect. Like,
Right.
what you're describing is building community. It's
Exactly.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Multi-generational influences.
Exactly. So seeing that is wonderful. And then with the digital literacy and learning thing, our team, our facilitator Marco Matta, he's amazing, bilingual, super sweet, always takes selfies with the whole class. He'll go all over the country and teach these different skills from cybersecurity, which is internet safety, to just computer basics. They have them bring their own devices. It was very open. You don't know how to take a photo. And it's amazing to see these people suddenly being in touch with their families again, that's a big one. Social isolation is a hard thing for older adults or for immigrants or for people who have, maybe their families moved away or whatever. And then to have that connection again is
Well, and then
so,
the goalposts keep changing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, don't press any links. Oh, well, you have to press a link to reset a password. Oh, but you need multi-factor authentication, so you get a text message that'll come in, and then you need to take that code and put it in. Yes, the goalpost keeps moving. Even if you do feel a little bit confident in that computer usage or the cell phone usage, things keep changing. The operating systems
Something as simple as a
upgrade.
CAPTCHA. If
Mhm.
I think that there's many people that probably needed to be walked through that for the first time. And if you don't have a resource to do that, it's a literal barrier. That's its purpose, is to keep you out.
Mhm.
Even a scroll bar can be a barrier because if you don't know that it's there, you don't know to look for it, and you don't know if there may be
Absolutely.
more information.
Yep.
Like, how do I go on to the next screen? Well, you can as long as you scroll down
Yep.
and you acknowledge something.
Yep.
It's those simple things that are not so simple.
So like you were describing with the teens, they this is like water to them. They grew up with it, and I was thinking about it with the scroll bars. Like, no one taught them that, but it's different.
Mhm.
You infer these things. So I think that is such a cool thing to tap into, because they weren't taught it, but they know it, and
Uh-huh.
they know it through instinct, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that makes for a really capable teacher.
Yeah. And we give them, as part of the program, we give them resources, materials, startup funds. It's all funded through AT&T. That's why it says powered by AT&T.
Sure.
And so these kids, they have a little bit of guidance, but they also go beyond. Like, they'll teach them how to Zoom and they'll do other things. And it's really, like you said, it's like intrinsic to them.
Absolutely.
Like, could you imagine? I mean, that generation, kids that are 17, 18 now, that's all they've known. They were given a little tablet when they were 3, So, wow.
As opposed to me, who I use my iPad a lot, and I was using somebody's laptop the other day, and I went to make something be bigger. I was like, oh, it doesn't work like that.
Oh, this isn't touch. Yeah.
Not a touch screen. Not how that works. Oh my gosh. So, for the conference, for the summit this week, what's your biggest takeaway?
Well, the BEAD stuff came out about 2.5 weeks ago, and BEAD is broadband. Let's see if I can get it right. Broadband Equity Access and Deployment program, which was set up during the Infrastructure Act in 2021 in the Biden administration. And about 3 weeks ago, we got new rules on June 6th, and we're talking, it's like June 25th right now. If I've dated your podcast, I'm sorry.
No.
You just cut that part. So about 3 weeks ago, and that was when they paused all funding. There was $42.45 billion for broadband expansion and digital equity, which are providing some of these programs we're talking about, was all paused after 3 years of the states working on their plans.
Mm-hmm.
And it really thought this year was going to be the year, the shovels in the ground, that we were going to be moving those plans forward, or at least toward the end of the year. So we had this pause while we waited for these rules. These rules came out about 2.5-3 weeks ago, and every single state's final proposal was rescinded. That was the big thing. Also, another big thing was that all the technology now for that is neutral.
Mhm.
So
That was huge.
that was huge. Well, before there was a really push for fiber, which a lot of people think is more future proof. Whether you agree with that or not, it's not our thing. We really believe that anything and everything that helps with connectivity, we support.
We got to use it all.
Yeah, we are neutral. But there's a lot of people that feel like, well, that's not really doing what we said we were going to do. So there's a lot of talk about that. And there's some red tape that was removed. So there's good and bad about it. But the most attended thing that I've seen this entire week since Monday has been the one where the 2 state broadband leaders were there. Greg Conti with the Texas State Broadband Development Office, and Eden Rolls, who's with I'm not sure, I believe she's just under the state broadband director for Oklahoma.
Okay.
So that was so well attended. People were standing up along the walls, and I think that's because ISPs who bid on a lot of these projects are wanting some clarity. Like, where are you going with your new with the changes? How are you adjusting it? Are you going to hit that 90-day? So you've gone for 3 years planning, and now they have a 90-day window to try to make these changes.
Yep.
So for me, BEAD and what those new rules and regulations that the new administration brought in, what that means and how that's going to look, that's the biggest and most interesting thing right now, just because it's so timely. And I would say right along with that is the Universal Service Fund, which is also, people know it as E-rate, which is the idea that it's the fund that helps libraries, schools, and rural hospitals. The Shelby Coalition, which is, you say it's Shelby, but it's SHLB Coalition, has really come out against changes that are being proposed, a challenge to the USF. They call the U.S. Universal Service Fund USF, which is that they need to, that the rule making and how it's being done and how the money's being isn't quite right. Shelby Coalition does not want that to go away. They want to change some of the funding for it. I don't want to speak too much for them, but there's a lot of people that agree with them. I would say that we probably agree with that because we want schools and libraries funded. We want rural hospitals funded. Those are anchor institutions that are critical, especially when you talk about rural America.
Absolutely.
And rural America, it's easy to dismiss, I think, for the average person. Most of Americans live in urban areas. But rural America is millions and millions of people.
Absolutely.
It is not a couple of thousand. It is millions and millions of people, So for us, that U.S. Service Fund is a big deal. And we're supposed to get a ruling this week from the Supreme Court. So those two things, they go hand in hand. They feed into each other. They're as in that, connecting with BEAD, the state also affects the schools. The U.S. Service Fund helps with the schools connectivity, so that it all is interconnected. There's the whole RDOF funding and CAF funding and these different arms of that. So seeing what happens with the USF and BEAD over these next few weeks, few months, are the biggest deal. And it's almost like we need another conference in 3 months to talk about did we survive?
To deconstruct what's happening.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Get through this. Are all the ISPs okay? Are all the state... Somebody should check on the state broadband directors. Make sure they're all right. We're here for you. We're here for you.
Check on your friends.
Yeah.
Sure.
The summit is starting to break down. What's next? What do you go home to? What's your next top priority
for Connected Nation?
Yes, for Connected Nation.
For us, we do work with states. We do technology action planning. Molly Weiner, who's here, she's working with the state of Texas. We've done a lot of work in Texas. We've worked with Oklahoma. We're in Michigan. In fact, one of our who I love dearly, Eric Frederick, he used to work with us, and one of our colleagues now runs the state broadband office in Michigan, and that's where he grew up and loved. He's like, "It's my love. I want this to work, so I need to take the job." So we work with states. We're working in territories. We work in Guam. We've done work in Puerto Rico. I can't remember if we're helping with their plan or not, just off the top of my head. But we're all over the country doing these kinds of plans and helping state broadband directors make sense of this.
Excellent.
And I would, welcome any of them that need help to reach out. We'll help you build that capacity so we can make these deadlines and make it happen. And the DEI stuff is off the table right now, the funding for that, which is the digital equity inclusion. Equity and inclusion right now for the administration, and that's what happens with politics.
Trigger words.
Yeah, they're trigger words.
Yep.
And so, Connected Nation, we've remained neutral over our 25 years. And other than that, we just care what will help more people. That's what we care about.
You're trying to move the needle.
Yeah, we could say a different word if you want.
Right.
It's all right.
What's on the list of approved words?
That's right. We're good with that as long as we're still helping people and moving the needle forward.
Of course.
So for us, I think it's like, reach out, we'll help. We want to help. That's what we care about. It really is an altruistic message and team, and I can tell you, to a person, everybody just loves hearing when we help that next person. Yeah,
that's amazing. Jessica, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I could sit here and talk to you all
it
after.
went so quickly.
Absolutely.
Except for the audience is not going to know this, but I had a couple of coughing fits because the air in Houston is bad right now.
Oh, it's brutal. Yeah,
but absolutely brutal. But safe travels home, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for joining us.